Hey everyone, it's Strange Michael. I hope you're doing well today. I have a review here for a game that I got many years ago. It came out in 2007 as an exclusive for the Xbox 360. It's one that I think my dad got me either for Christmas or a birthday, which are kind of month to month, back to back. You know, I was born in November, Christmas is in December, and it just kind of went that way when I was growing up. So I'm pretty sure that he got me this game many years ago, but I don't think I got it in 2007. I'm pretty sure I didn't even own an Xbox 360 until probably 2008 or 9, I'm pretty sure, because I didn't know about GTA until about 2008 or 2009. I think it was about 2008. And then eventually I got a 360, got this game from my dad at some point within that year. Anyway, this game I want to talk about is one that I always referred to as PGR4, but it's really Project Gotham Racing 4. And I've never played the originals, but good news, yesterday I went to the store that I've been going to, it's a tech shop, and I found 1 and 3. And I knew they had 3 last week, I just didn't grab it, but I saw this yesterday and nearly shit myself because I couldn't believe it. But now I have those, and at some point, because of how absolutely mesmerizing and wonderful this one was, I can't wait to go back and play these other 2. But anyway, with moving along, I've never played a PGR4 or PGR game, for that matter, outside of this particular game. It is a racing game series, but it's not like a Forza Horizon. It's not like a Midnight Club 3, which I grew up on. It's more of like a simulator type of thing, in the sense of kind of like a Forza Motorsport, or like a Gran Turismo 3, 2, whatever, that you guys have probably heard of more than likely before you even heard about this one. I always called it PGR4 because for whatever reason I never looked close enough to read the Project Gotham Racing 4 at the bottom there. But I've always loved this game. It's such a special game, but I never got far in it. I just found out when I wanted to play it the other day, because I used to play it a lot, but for different reasons I'll get into in a moment. I really wanted to play it the other day, and I decided, you know what, I'm going to put it in my Xbox 360 just to see what's going on. What am I going to do with this? So about 2 weeks ago, I think, is when I started playing this, and I got hooked. Just immediately, because I figured out there was a career mode, not a campaign mode, which is usually what I remember games listing everything as on stories. For games like Gears of War, it's called a campaign or a story mode. And that's really it. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to play this, and for the last 2 weeks or so I've been playing this off and on, pretty much every day, maybe a couple of races a day, but sometimes I just delved into it for like 2 or 3 hours, because I just loved it so much. Now overall, the story is probably, or the campaign, the career, as it's called, which I don't think I've ever heard of racing game listed as a career, which is the campaign, basically. When I played it, I didn't really understand how long it would be or what would happen. Basically, you start out at rank number 73, I believe, and you have to crawl up the ranks to number 1. And it might take you a long time, it might not. There's some things that could be bumps in the road over time, and as you get closer and closer to that rank number 1, things begin to slow down on how fast you move up in the ranks, because other drivers you're playing against get better and better over time. The AI is pretty solid here, in my personal opinion. They're not out to, like, bash you off the side of the road, which they really can't, because it's kind of a simulator thing. There's barriers and so on and so on. It's not a open free roam like a Midnight Club 3. You know, it's pretty much track for track. I also love the fact that there's not a shit ton of rubber banding in this game, like there was in Need for Speed Underground, which I played for the first time last year and beat it. That game was the greatest example of something I had never experienced, called rubber banding. You could be in, you know, first place, and other people that were in the back of the race and like the final bottom position on the list of ranking just start flying up to where you are, and there's no reason they should be able to do that. That didn't happen to me one time in this game, which is amazing. I love the fact that there's no rubber banding in this game. I don't know if other series are like that, like Forza, or again, Gran Turismo, but this is the first time I've ever played a racing game that didn't have that, so that's pretty great. I love that about it. But Project Gotham Racing 4, to me, is very special. I have a best friend from my childhood I talk about a lot on this channel, and a cousin that I talk about a lot on this channel. I played this game plenty of times with both of them because it does have an arcade mode, and the arcade mode is kind of just like, I think, 10 races that they just threw together in Calamity, and you played it. And that was really fun. I liked that. And actually getting to a career this time around to play it and cross the ranks all the way up to number 1, that was super satisfying. And I think that's the biggest thing with this game, too. Before I even get to the car selection, how vast that is. Not in comparison to something like Gran Turismo, but there's got to be at least over 100 or 200 vehicles in this game. and that's cars and motorcycles. You can race the two together. I don't know if that was possible in the previous entries, but in this game you can race motorcycles and cars. I tried motorcycles one time in here. That was some bullshit. I got knocked off almost immediately. Like within the first turn, somebody rammed my ass into a wall, and I was done. I was completely done, so I gave up. But I love the driving in the game. But those two, the best friend of mine from childhood, TC, and my cousin Trenton that I talked about in my GTA San Andreas review, the first ever review I did for this channel, those two guys and I, at separate times, since we didn't really all hang out together, we were all in different places in my state, when we would hang out separately, I would bring this game over and we would play it. And both of those guys loved it as much as I did, mainly because the graphics on this game to this day are some of the best racing game graphics I've ever seen in my life, specifically when it snows and when it rains, which are also caveats, because when it snows or rains in this game, everything gets slippery. Mainly because of, when it rains, you fucking hydroplane. You see a big enough puddle, it can road your ass off the road. I don't even know what I was trying to say with that. How do you get roaded by the road? Anyway, you can get destroyed because of a fucking puddle in this game, which can be rough. I didn't hate it. I thought it added to the experience because it was kind of realistic. Roads are not perfectly made anywhere in the world, so you could have a situation like what you would deal with in here if you were racing as fast as we are. 150 miles an hour, yeah, it's probably going to take out some of your speed. And that's kind of how you play this game. When it snows, though, oh my god, it is tricky, dude. But it's not like unfair, it's just tricky, and you always have the chance to be able to pull through a race that you were slightly messing up in, that you took the corner wrong, whatever. The biggest thing I noticed this time around, because of Mark from Classic Game Rooms, which I love their reviews, he's just come back, go check him out, please show Mark some love. Classic Game Room was probably the best review channel ever on YouTube, in my personal opinion, or on the internet for that matter. I watched a bunch of his reviews recently, which is what made me want to go back and play this recently. And he was talking about in Gran Turismo how you just don't, like, drift. You know, like, you can do that in this game, depending on the car, you do it better than other cars. But he brought up the fact that a lot of the time you just slow down, and you take a turn in a very sharp way. You can't just, like, drift into it like you would in Midnight Club 3, which is what I grew up on, and I kind of am just used to using my e-brake for every fucking racing game I've ever played that had an e-brake. And I learned something new when I played this game, that not every single sim game is designed like that for racing. And I was like, okay, so I tried using what I recommend mostly to be wise in this game if you're going to play it. Just use your regular brake. Just use your regular brake more often. Without the rubber banding, you don't have to panic on hitting speed. Now, some of the challenges you have in the game are not just a straight-up street race or like any kind of just career thing. You have other things like a cone sprint, for example, where if you hit a cone while you're traveling around this path, either doing one single lap or smaller laps, you can hit one of the cones and get a penalty, which is some bullshit. It might add like 1 or 2 or 3 seconds on to your overall time at the end of the race, which was ridiculous. It was absolutely ridiculous. It was fun. It was fun sometimes, but it was absolutely tricky, dude. Depending on the car that you picked, which, by the way, one of the other settings they have in here, even if you're playing on easy mode, the cars themselves, it doesn't matter if they're a supercar, an exotic, which is a lot of what this game has, or whether, by the way, it doesn't have really many muscle cars, which was kind of a shame to me. But if you pick like something like more of the exotic type of car, like a Saline, for example, they actually list on the side of the top speed and the acceleration and all that, they list whether this car is easy, medium, hard, or insane. Some cars, like the Ford GT, I believe, were listed as hard, and then like some Ferraris were listed as like insane from the 1980s, which I didn't even try those, because eventually I realized what I was getting myself into, even if they had similar statistics to another car, like another Ferrari, like the Enzo, for example. This game came out in 2007. I saw this movie in 2007 called Redline that I loved deeply. It introduced the Ferrari Enzo to American audiences, and specifically myself. This is the first ever game, to my knowledge, that I got to play a Ferrari Enzo at all. When I did the Michelin track, and you had every car in the game to unlock and play around and stuff, but I hadn't actually unlocked them until now. But getting to drive around in those tracks, the Michelin track specifically, getting to try out something like a Ferrari Enzo, dude, whether it be the cockpit view or the outside of the car view, which is typically what I go with, because the cockpit view is hard to make a turn in this game, in my personal opinion, I loved it. It's just absolutely incredible, between the graphics, something as simple as rain on the windshield, over to just how satisfying the races are, how satisfying winning a race can be. It's incredible. But that car selection thing is what kind of throws me off. Again, I fucking avoided motorcycles the entire game. I refused to use them because of how complicated it was to really hit turns. It's tricky. But when cars are listed easy, medium, hard, and insane, I got to the point that I would go medium at maximum. I would. I went to medium cars at maximum, and the Ferrari Enzo was listed as easy, and it drove fantastic. Whereas if you compared it to something that's listed as an insane Ferrari, it was fucking difficult, and I refused to use them. So I had to be kind of cautious. I wanted to try out certain cars, and I'm a little confused because some races wouldn't let you use a Ferrari Enzo and some would, even though you would see other drivers in the game, even though you unlocked a Ferrari Enzo and you bought the thing with the kudos you earn in the game, which are credits from doing tricks and stunts and whatever, winning races. You garner kudos and you can buy things in the game with it. I had a Ferrari Enzo. I wasn't allowed to use it on certain races for whatever reason. I don't know if it's just a game mechanic or what, but it was fucking stupid. But you would see other drivers in the game using Ferrari Enzos. What the fuck? Why? I don't understand how that works, but it happened that way. It's kind of not up to me. But outside of little things like that, the nitpicks of something like that, again, the graphics, everything else, they're wonderful. There's some time trials that are really fair, really easily fair, that you're not missing by like 2 seconds when you complete a time trial, depending on the difficulty you play as, of course. But I really enjoyed the time trials. You know, you have speed tracks where you have to hit a corner at a certain speed and try to get as much speed as you can to beat out the other people who have the top speed in the game. That kind of stuff was really fun. My least favorite feature in the game, which wasn't super common because you play season to season. It took me 3 seasons of the game to finish my overall career, to get to rank 1. What I noticed was that there's one particular thing that come up like every couple of times during the seasons, maybe 3 times a season, where you have challenges that you're invite only to. And I tried this once or twice, and you're able to say no, that you don't want to go because it's just an invite. You can't skip regular events, but you can skip this stuff. I skipped pretty often, if I'm being honest with you, because I had things like this one that popped up that said, can you travel like Germany's longest track or something? And these are all cities modeled after real places, by the way. Apparently the detailing was so good from what I read online that you could go to these actual places in Europe, Tokyo, all the different places that they have in this game, which I thought that was fucking sick, dude. It looks phenomenal with those areas. When you're just driving on a straight line and you turn your camera to look out the side with one of the joysticks, dude, it was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful. The detailing to outside areas you can't even go to were incredible. I love that about this game. If you see people on the sides of the road cheering you on, they don't look wonderful, but they don't look horrible. You know, it's kind of nice. I like that too. But, but I never really got into the arcade mode, just so you know. I kind of did that back in the day when I was a kid. I didn't really understand how to play this game or how to drive it, and using the e-brake all the time didn't help anything, like I said. But what was I going with before I talked about that? Shit, I lost my train of thought. I'm all over the place when I talk about video games, man. There's just so much to say about them. This game is beautiful. I love it deeply. It's, again, satisfying. I think is the most wonderful thing about a racing game, when it can be so satisfying and so enjoyable in that regard. There's not really any kind of like voice acting or anything. The sound design for the game, for all the different cars, I tried many a different car, and I think they sound incredible. Absolutely incredible, dude. Oh, I know what I was talking about. The longest track in Germany or whatever, called like the Nuremberger, something like that. That shit sucked. You had this little box car from like the Little Rascals 1994 movie, and you had to drive this thing in the ice and snow, and it sucked because it's like a 10-minute track. Most of the tracks in the game, most of the races in the game, can go anywhere from like 2 minutes all the way over to like 8, usually. And then you have like that one track, and one time you even have to do it twice, which was like a 20-minute drive. What the fuck? What the fuck? No, I don't like that. And I know some like Forza games and Gran Turismo games have like 60 laps on some of the particular tracks they have you on. Depending on the length, maybe it's not that bad. I don't know, but that sounds like a lot to me. So that's just my complaint. In PGR4, you don't have that issue. You just kind of have kind of shorter tracks most of the time. You only do like 4 laps maximum on most of these tracks, which I liked. I thought it was really good. I do like certain areas that I think pop in the visual style more than others. Like, for example, Tokyo, or like New York, I think was one of the ones I really liked. But like Europe, fuck, it was bad. Europe and like the UK, oh my god. Are they that boring in real life? oh my god. And like the music would change from region to region, and like there were certain ones that I think it was like Europe that like, was like the worst. Like it didn't even match. It sounded like African music, and I was like, what the fuck is this? That's my big complaint too, the music for the game. This is really the only real complaint I have, outside of the challenges I talked about. The soundtrack for the game. I love the menu music. I think it's super classic. It fits this game so well when you listen to the menu music. That's just kind of like on a loop, typically. It's very techno in style, I guess. But when you get to the actual races in different locations, like North America, Europe, whatever, and you have the music that I guess is specified for that locale, some of it is horrible. I would say most of it is really horrible. It doesn't matter where you are, what location, even if it changes from region to region from what I can experience and understand. At some point I just turned the music volume down because the music was so goddamn bad in this game, I couldn't tolerate it anymore. I physically could not bring myself to enjoy it anymore. So I just stopped trying to pretend like I enjoyed that. That is really the only complaint I have in the game that kind of drags it down a little bit for me. Everything else was very fair, very fun, and like I said, the sound design made up for how rough the music was in the game. If you have been disappointed in recent years, in my personal opinion, I really have, with the sound design on cars and video games. I don't know what happened, but at some point we've changed that. Even down to like GTA, the cars don't sound as good unless they're like an exotic supercar in those games. What happened? What happened to make us change that so much that now it's not even fun to listen to the car engines anymore, which is one of my favorite things about gaming back in the day with, again, GTA San Andreas, GTA Vice City, something like Midnight Club 3, this game, PGR 4. What happened with that? Well, this can resolve your feelings. If you haven't played this 2007 hidden gem that it seems like people really love and know about, but I've never heard anybody but me talk about PGR 4, you need to check it out. I wish we had more of these. Of course, Microsoft is the one who owns it. As an Xbox exclusive, they would be competing against, I think it's Forza Motorsport that's an Xbox exclusive. I don't know. It's something like that. But I love Forza Horizon. I think those games are incredible. I haven't played Forza Motorsport, so I don't really know what the difference could be. Personally, I think I like Horizon 1 and 2 more than this. Those are the only two I played of that series, but I think I like them more than this. But this is one of my favorites of all time. It's up there with those in my top 5 favorite racing games of all time. Any type, style, street race, simulator, whatever we're talking about. This game, Project Gotham Racing 4, is incredible. If you haven't played it, you are missing out so much, especially if you love exotic cars and all of that. If you love sound design, this game is right up your alley and you have no idea what you are missing. It's probably one of the best ever. It's probably one of the best ever, and I'm hoping that these other two I showed you a little while ago, 3 and 1, and hopefully 2 if I can find it, I'm hoping these hold up and are as beautiful and good as this one is, because dude, this is an absolute treat. I'm sure these will have their issues being older, but man, this was one hell of a note to leave off on. To be the final PGR 4, or PGR game, this is incredible, and I recommend it highly. If you can find it, if you can get it for a decent price, anything up to $30, $40, dude. I'm telling you, this is such a damn good game. To be around for so long, and for it to be in my collection for this long, and me have never completing it, I'm so stunned by how much I loved this. And I loved it when I was younger, because of the graphics, because of the driving, the sound design. Loved it because of all of that stuff when I was a kid, so did my best friend and my cousin. But this was so much more special than I ever gave it credit for. And I'm so glad I actually got to experience it from beginning to end now, because it's something that I can go around and tell people like, yeah, the career on this game was just so much fun. It had so much going for it, more than most games that I play, more than most that come out now. You know, Need for Speed is still going. Gran Turismo is still going. All of these different series are still going that I may or may not have experience with, but this to me should have been around still, because it's so good. Who cares if they already have another Microsoft racing game with Forza Motorsport? Microsoft, you'd have to be nuts not to put this back out. You'd have to be nuts, because this is too good not to have more of. Anyway, when it comes to Project Gotham Racing 4, I love it deeply. It's not perfect because of the soundtrack thing, but it's pretty damn close. It's pretty damn close to being a perfect racing game. It's so good. I loved it deeply. It makes me want to play more racing games like this with the lack of like open world content, just straight up on a track trying to get there from point A to point B as fast as possible. This is great. I loved it. I love the idea of using your brake more than your e-brake. Most games jump over to just use e-brake, like I said. I love that about this game. It was so well done, so well rounded, so perfect for what it was. I really don't have much to take points off of. I mean, I talked about the soundtrack being bad, but it really doesn't affect the game that much because of how good the sound design is, in my personal opinion. So it's not even fair to really knock it down a star or anything because of that on my 5-star rating. But if I was going to rate this game, Project Gotham Racing 4, on a 5-star basis, I think it's very fair, and I'm going to give it a 5 out of 5 stars. I loved it. Compared to some of the things I played recently that have come out in the last year or so, like LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga, or the Callisto Protocol, this kicked the shit out of both of them. 1000%. I love it. I love it so much, and I can't wait to play the first one and the third one, hopefully the second one at some point too. Probably going to hold those off till either later this year or maybe next year. I don't really know. I have a lot of stuff on my top 10 of 2023 that I want to play, I want to review, but we'll see what happens. Anyway, have you played Project Gotham Racing 4? What did you guys think about it? I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments down in the comment section down below. Thank you all for watching, guys. 5 out of 5. Easily. Easily, dude. It's so damn good. Anyway, thank you all for watching. God bless you guys, and goodbye.